3 times, the world almost ended. Welcome to Your Dose of Wowness.
By the middle of 1945, cities across Japan were burning. Yet here, among the centuries-old shrines and wooden pavilions of the ancient imperial capital, the war felt strangely distant. In the summer of 1945, a city of 1 million people and 2,000 years of temples sat at the top of a list of atomic bomb targets. Treaties didn't save it. Moral objections from the military didn't save it. It survived because one man remembered his honeymoon there. This is the story of the Kyoto decision. Welcome back to Your Dose of Wowness. For 3 years, the United States had poured billions of dollars into a sprawling, continent-wide industrial apparatus known as the Manhattan Project. As this effort reached its terrifying climax, the focus shifted from building the weapon to deciding exactly where to drop it. A specialized target committee of scientists and military officers convened in the spring of 1945. Their objective was clinical: find a pristine canvas where they could accurately measure the full destructive capacity of the world's first atomic weapon. This map shows the exact criteria the committee applied to Japan. To justify the strike, they needed an urban area with a large population. They needed significant industrial output. And, crucially, they needed a city entirely untouched by the ongoing conventional bombing campaigns. When you apply those 3 filters, Kyoto emerged as the mathematically ideal target. It had the industry, the population density, and intact infrastructure. The military wanted Kyoto specifically because it hadn't been bombed yet. That made it a perfect place to measure what the new weapon could do. To the military planners, the city's unblemished condition made its destruction a scientific necessity. But the military officers had to answer to the senior civilian official overseeing the project, Secretary of War Henry L. Stimson. Stimson carried a profound, highly personal appreciation for the city. Decades earlier, he had visited Kyoto on his honeymoon and later returned during his time as Governor General of the Philippines. The temples, the gardens, and the deep cultural heritage left a permanent mark on his memory. Stimson's sentimental view crashed directly into the cold, strategic mandate of General Leslie Groves. Groves directed the Manhattan Project, and he demanded military efficiency over cultural preservation. To Groves, sparing a major industrial target for its historical value was illogical. Stimson didn't object once. He had to keep objecting over and over as the generals kept putting Kyoto right back on the list. The conflict soon became a battle of endurance between a single man's memory and a vast bureaucratic machine. This is one of the harder stories in this arc to sit with, and I think that's exactly why it belongs here. If these near misses are getting under your skin the way they're getting under mine, subscribe, and let me know in the comments how you're processing this one. Throughout the spring, a relentless bureaucratic loop took hold. The officers would convene, evaluate the data, and reinsert Kyoto at the top of the targeting shortlist. The document would reach the secretary's desk, and he would forcefully strike it out. Stimson realized that as long as the decision remained within the military hierarchy, the mathematical logic favoring Kyoto eventually went out. He needed an authority the generals could not ignore. In late July, Stimson took the issue directly to President Harry Truman. By making a direct appeal to the highest civilian authority, Stimson secured a final presidential veto. He eventually had to go over everyone's head and get the president himself to agree Kyoto was off the table for good. The objective military machine was defeated by a single, highly subjective human intervention. With Kyoto gone from the list, the slot that remained went somewhere else. And this is where the story stops feeling like a rescue and starts feeling like something much harder to sit with. The target committees still required a pristine city with an intact urban core to measure the blast. Removing Kyoto created a vacuum, forcing the planners to shift their focus to another intact target with high military significance, a regional army headquarters and port city named Hiroshima. Days later, bad weather obscured the primary target for the second bombing mission. The B-29 diverted to its secondary option. That secondary target, Nagasaki, ultimately absorbed the destructive slot that Kyoto had vacated. This was not a direct one-to-one swap. The target committee evaluated several candidate cities simultaneously. But Kyoto's removal shifted the mathematics of the entire shortlist. guaranteeing that the available devastation would fall on whoever remained. The intact urban geography that made Hiroshima and Nagasaki valuable military targets ensured they absorbed the exact, overwhelming destruction originally calculated for Kyoto. Today, millions of people walk among Kyoto's 2,000 years of surviving heritage. The city's wooden temples and manicured gardens stand entirely intact, largely because one powerful official remembered them fondly. We often assume that events of world-ending scale are driven by pure logic, vast geopolitical forces, or grand ethical calculations. But the historical record reveals a deeply uncomfortable reality about how power actually functions. The terrifying truth of the atomic bombings is that the line separating survival from vaporization ultimately hinged on something as arbitrary and unaccountable as a single bureaucrat's vacation memories. One man's memory of a honeymoon kept a city standing. It's not a clean story, and it shouldn't feel like one. Next time, we move into the Cold War, and the stakes get even larger. A Soviet submarine, depth charges falling, and one officer's single vote standing between the world and a nuclear war. That's Day 115, the Sealy Archipelago.